Good morning. Why don't we take a deep breath? Let's breathe in together. And out. A beautiful day without rain. Yesterday was a beautiful day with rain. So, we will sing for peace again. Please could you, yeah, this is perfect. Sebastian, I think you're in that group. Okay, a little bit of Latin today, and a little bit of Hebrew and Arabic together, and also a little bit of something else, which will come later. So over here, let's get a D from the keyboard. I think it's about here. Oh, a little bit higher than I thought. Here we go. Over here, we're going to sing the words Domine, Domine da pacem. God, give us peace. It goes like this. Domine, Domine da pacem, da pacem. Then it goes into English. We'll do that in a second. Let's do Domine, Domine, Domine da pacem, da pacem. And then we sing, people get ready, the time has come. As you see up there. And the tune goes like this. People get ready, the time has come. All one note until the time has come. Let's sing People Get Ready together. People get ready, the time has come. One more. People get ready, the time has come. And from the beginning we have Domine, Domine da pacem, da pacem. People get ready, the time has come. Domine, Domine da pacem, da pacem. People get ready, the time has come. Beautiful. So our lovely Faiths in Tune musicians are going to help us hold the two parts. There's the second part, which will be here, which is going to go Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Peace be upon you. Here we go. Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Then we switch to the Arabic phrase for Walaikum Assalam. I do speak Hebrew, I don't speak Arabic. Please forgive if my pronunciation is not perfect. So, Wa'alaikum. We have a, thank you. This is fantastic. I wish every audience could help me. Okay, so we have Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. And then Wa'alaikum Assalam. Fantastic. Let's do that again. Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Wa'alaikum Assalam. If you have a high voice, you can sing Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Doesn't matter which octave. Wa'alaikum Assalam. Let's keep that going and we'll be Domine, Domine da pacem, da pacem. Asa, people get ready, the time has come. Shalom, Domine da Wa'alaikum Asa, people get ready, the time. Let's keep that going. Shanti, may we live in peace. May we live in peace. Lay our weapons down. Welcome to sing this too. Shanti, may we live in peace. May we live in peace. Lay our weapons down. Shanti. Shanti. May we live in peace. May we live in peace. Lay our weapons down. Last time, Shanti. May we live in peace. May we live in peace. Lay our weapons. People get ready. The time has come. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So now we are going to get into plenary 2, and this is on advancing shared well-being by preventing and transforming violent conflicts. So for this session, please allow me to invite on the stage Professor Aza. She's the coordinator of the United Nations Interagency Task Force on Religion and Development, and the Senior Advisor on Social and Cultural Development at the United Nations Populations Fund. Welcome.
So peace be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum. In line with that beautiful song, thank you very much to the singers for that spiritually elevating and beautiful singing that we all participated in together. It gives me great pleasure, and it is a distinct honor for me to be with you here today. By the way, I think you know that they usually create these things for tall people, so I'm standing on my tiptoes in order to see you all, which is a great privilege. I speak very well when I'm standing on my tiptoes. It is my distinct pleasure to be able to moderate this particular panel. I wish to give great thanks to Religions for Peace and Ring of Peace for putting this entire program together. It is a wonderful moment in the history of religions working together for peace. And this panel will address the particular nexus of advanced shared well-being by preventing and transforming violent conflict. Now, most of you in this room know full well what the implications are for violent conflict. We are living the consequences of it today, almost on a daily basis. It has become so normal to switch on our televisions if we're fortunate and witness the results of carnage in different ways. Unfortunately, much of it tinged with religious intonations or religious narratives. It has become so painfully normal that it is high time we have a much better and coordinated approach amongst the religious leaderships of the world, not only on the issue of prevention, which is critical enough, but even more critically on the transformation of violent conflicts. The structure of the panel, if you'll allow me to simply introduce it, is that we will invite our distinguished delegates from Myanmar and to say, so you can see the constitution of those who have been working very diligently on this context as a case, as a very case in point in Myanmar. And then we will also invite distinguished speakers from Nigeria. Myanmar and Nigeria are the two cases which we will use the opportunity of this panel to juxtapose and learn from in terms of how it is that religious actors in particular, religious leaders in particular, have a role to play, a very critical role, a very transformational role in ensuring advancing shared well-being by prevention and transformation. We will then have an opportunity for a quick couple of questions from the audience, and then we will invite our distinguished colleagues from ICANN to speak to the action point. As you know, in line with the intention and the structure so far, we want to make sure that there are very concrete action points that are spoken to and that emerge from each of the opportunities for conversation and learning amongst one another, which this assembly offers us very critically. Now, without further ado, I will please invite our distinguished delegation from Myanmar to please come to the table. Most specifically, could Cardinal Charles Bo, as well as His Excellency U Ai Luin, please lead the delegation in coming to the stage. Cardinal Bo, I will take the privilege of please passing the microphone to you so that you may please introduce your distinguished delegates.
Domine da pacem. People are ready to listen. I'd like to introduce the whole group, not by names. No use telling the names because you won't remember them. So we are a good integration and forming of all the religious leaders in Myanmar. We have the Muslim, the Buddhist, the Catholic, Rohingyas, Hindus, Anglican, Baptist, the Buddhist, Hindu, and the rest. All of us are composed of youth and women also. If we don't mention women, this chap is discriminating, and also youth, women, Buddhist monks, and Catholic priest, and Anglican pastor, and all of us. So these are the beautiful faces from Myanmar. Please welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cardinal. I just wanted to say it's often that we hear and speak of numbers of people, numbers of those injured, numbers of those who have suffered. It is equally critical to understand that with each number is a face and a human life. It is even more critical to appreciate the faces of peace. So thank you very much indeed for honoring us with your presence. Please take it. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Please sit. Yes, this is fine. Cardinal Bo, you have played and continue to play a very significant role in both prevention and transformation. Would you please honor us with your presentation to this audience on what you care to share?
Minglava, good morning. I have no introduction and no conclusion because I just have 5 minutes only. The great fruits of religious people is articulated in the simple sentence, compassion is the common religion of humanity. Based on this, we have done 3 levels of intervention to 1, peace promotion, peace building, and peace and sustaining peace. On this, we have moved on 3 levels. 1, international initiatives for peace through religions for peace. For the last 2 years, amidst all the problems, Religions for Peace has managed to gain the confidence of the main stakeholders in the country. In our first visit, we could interact with the government and also with the military, especially the state consular to Aung San Suu Kyi. In a gesture of making peace, making the government also was magnanimous in arranging a sport trip of the displacement affected Rakhine areas. This goodwill visit was very helpful in cooling down the situation and also building confidence among the stakeholders. This is the first visit to the areas by the neutral groups. While the world was indulging in strong criticism, the visit of the religions for peace really helped in opening the doors of dialogue. This team was consisting of major Buddhist monks of the world, Christian leaders, Muslim leaders, Hindu leaders, other communities, including Bishop Baguna and Reverend Sugino. The second meeting of the Religions for Peace was a robust affair with the nation's leader and representatives of the government and the civil society participating in full strength. The role of Religions for Peace was greatly appreciated. Our efforts have opened the door for dialogue and meeting of the people. To national level peace conferences. In 2017, we brought together the religious leaders at the national level. Around 90 people from various religious backgrounds attended the theme, Peace is Possible, and Peace is the Only Way. This conference was a great support to the government and non-government actors in understanding the issues. The themes of the conference was helpful to the participants of the Pinglong Conference held that year. 3, influence with the non-state actors. The Church has been in the forefront of connecting with the non-state actors and armed groups because many of the groups are Christian groups. Church proactively worked for peace and many times helped the government to reach out to these groups for dialogue. Both the army and the armed groups have been maintaining good relationship with church leaders to facilitate peace moves. There are specific cases of peace deals where agreed based on the initiative of the bishops. For people-to-people dialogue. In events of a natural calamity and conflict, the religious leaders visited the areas as a group and helped the people without any reference to religion or race. Natural calamities provided a space for religious leaders to promote the message of peace through compassion. And lastly, addressing the root causes of conflict. Churches have been taking upon themselves the task of assisting in the nation building. Recently, the Church has analyzed the root causes of conflicts and suggested 5 major areas for nation building which could bring the peace dividend. There are education, integrated human development, women development, indigenous rights, and interreligious initiatives for peace. The Church is eager to commit itself to collaborating with all the nation building. We also recognize that exploitation of natural resources remain a source point of conflict. We have raised our voice for customary laws. Significantly, recently, the Bishop Conference of Myanmar has appealed to the government to suspend permanently the Mega Dam project by the Chinese government, which would negatively impact millions of people. This effort has received the support of all the people. Conclusion, poverty remains one of the major causes of conflict. Business, government, and the civil society need to act on behalf of the poor in raising the standards of the people. Religion has played a major role in the lives of the Myanmar people. The future prosperity and peace and the fulfillment of sustainable development goals depend mostly on the fellowship of the religious leaders who continue to have great influence in the lives of our people. Religions have played a major role in the moments of conflict. Let a new era open up on Myanmar that will see the governments and others join hands with the religious leaders to fulfillment, to reach the goal of peace. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cardinal Bo, including also for the rallying call for inclusion and engagement amongst all sectors towards the very end, respecting the critical role of the Church. May I please ask His Excellency U Tai Luin to please take the floor now.
Eminent and venerable religious leaders, my respected elders, my sisters and brothers from the family of Religion for Peace, I would like to greet you all with a Myanmar traditional greeting, Mingalaba, which means auspiciousness to all of you. Allow me to greet you in an Islamic way. May peace, blessing, and mercy of Almighty be upon all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We have just sang the song of peace. Salam, shalom, shanti, and tanti in Pali means peace. That is what we are trying to achieve. Prevention of violence, conflict, and transformation. This is a task that we need to accomplish. So my opinion is that not only violence, conflict, but we have to consider about the structural conflicts, the discrimination, the segregation, the hatred that has been going on. There should be no place for hate in the entire planet. God has created this world with mercy. So as far as Myanmar is concerned, people do not know much about Myanmar until the crisis in Rakhine, known as the Rohingya crisis, emerged. Some even say to the extent that the term Rohingya becomes sexy all of a sudden. This is their view. I have nothing to comment on it. But we should know that Myanmar is a multiracial, multicultural, pluralistic society. No religion originates from Myanmar. But before the advent of Hinduism, Myanmar was permeated by animism, worship of spirits. Then came Hinduism, then Mahayana Buddhism, Tantric Buddhism, and in 11th century, Theravada Buddhism. And the majority of Myanmar choose Theravada Buddhism as their religion, but they welcome the others. They celebrate the diversity. Islam reached Myanmar in the 7th century, and by the 11th century, the first dynasty of Myanmar, Muslims were part and parcel of the society. They were serving the kings not as mercenaries, but as the part of the society. So throughout this Myanmar monarchy, we were living in harmony and peace. We do fight, but never in the name of religion or race. Unfortunately, starting from 1882, we have three Anglo-Burmese wars, and we were under the British for more than 100 of years, starting from 1885. We regained our independence in 1948. There was a short-lived parliament democracy era where democracy was cherished by the Myanmar people. Then came the military coup in 1962. We were under the totalitarian regime of the military dictators till 1988, when Myanmar people rise up in demand for democracy, human rights, and peace. So that is where the military junta used the religion as a political tool. As I've mentioned, religion was never politicized by the Myanmar people. But in order to cling on to power, these totalitarian despots, they use religion as a political tool and try to instigate the nation. Now we have turned a new page in Myanmar, but we are still in the transitional period, very fragile. One false step, and it will be back to square one. All the sacrifices that we have made will become null and void. We do need help from the international community, constructive help with the right intention and sincerity. Friends, let me touch upon the crisis in Rakhine. There are not only two communities inside Rakhine. There are a lot of other communities living as minority in the Rakhine region, such as Daine, Mu, Khmer, and there are also religious minorities, such as Hindus and Christians. We should think about all of these people. And we should not emphasize only on Rakhine area when we talk about peace in Myanmar. With the independence, the civil war emerged. It is still going on. Religion for Peace in Myanmar was born in 2012. We are very young, but we have to treat the ailment, which is a chronic disease, since 1948. There is a civil war still going on in Myanmar. Just before we came to Germany, the fighting in Shan states intensified. Even a military technological institute in Piulue was attacked. There were a lot of fighting goings on in the border area. So we should think about the peace process in the whole context of Myanmar. Having said that, just like our cardinal has presented just now, Religion for Peace is trying to find a way out from this dilemma. We have engaged with all the stakeholders, the government, the military, the opposition, the ethnic armed forces. In our first forum, all of these represented attended. Allow me to mention some few names. The Karen National Union, which is a very strong ethnic armed force, was represented by its president, General Mutu Sepo. He spoke on our first forum. Then Colonel Ko Oka, who was from the Shan Armed Forces, he also attended. A lot of the leaders from other ethnic armed forces also attended, and the political leaders from the opposition parties also attended. USDP, which is the strongest opposition party, also attended, and a lot of Rakhine nationalist political parties also attended. That is what we are trying to do. We have finished our second forum, and we are about to convene the third forum. We are trying our best, but there are a lot of odds. We are fighting an uphill battle. There are challenges, but there are also opportunity. Before I conclude, let me touch upon about the crisis in Rakhine. When we talk about these two communities, the people who call themselves as Rohingyas and the Rakhine Buddhist National, we should know that there is an undisputed, authentic historical fact that these two communities were living in peace and harmony for centuries. Allow me to point out some pertinent facts in the annal of Myanmar history. In 14th century, the Rakhine Kingdom of Mrau was founded by the assistance of the Muslim kingdom from the neighboring country. Mughal emperors sent their troops to help the prince who took refuge in now what is known as Bengal. And they founded this Myau capital. And Muslims were serving in the Rakhine Buddhist courts. Another point to remember is a very pertinent point. Rakhine devout Buddhist kings, they have Muslim titles. Also, they are devout Buddhist kings from 14th century. About 14 successive dynasties, the kings, they have Muslim titles, such as Ali Shah, Kalima Shah. And they minted coins with Arabic inscriptions, not ordinary Arabic language, Islamic precept like Kalima. So these coins are still in existence. So to find a way out from this dilemma, we should think about structural violence as well as violence conflict also. But we have to bear in mind that there are people who are benefiting from the conflict. Our chairman, late Kofi Annan, used to call this as a war profiteers. They don't want peace. If peace prevails, they'll be jobless. We need to tackle them also. And my friends, we need your assistance, your kind understanding, constructive assistance, and with your help and with your assistance, we will try our best to achieve peace and transform conflict into peace, a sustainable, positive peace. With that note, I would like to end, and may peace and blessing of Almighty be upon all of you.
Thank you very much indeed, Your Excellency, for a comprehensive evaluation and analysis of the situation. We much appreciate it. And also thank you for the contextualization of what is going on that complements very nicely what Cardinal Bo was also sharing. Thank you for that. I would like to take the opportunity now to please call upon His Eminence Cardinal Onaiken and His Eminence Al-Hajj Kunle Sani to please join us on the podium. I'll ask the audience to start thinking of the kinds of questions that you will eventually would like to raise, questions that you would like to raise to our panelists shortly. You've now heard from the Myanmar case. We will be further enlightened from the Nigerian case, and hopefully you can direct your questions accordingly. Your Eminence, Cardinal Onaiken, you have now heard the presentation, both the presentations from the Myanmar case. Your role has been very central and integral to the context of Nigeria, which has received quite a bit of press for some years. Hopefully you will be able to enlighten some of us on the specific contributions and some of your own critical analysis of what has been happening there. The floor is now yours, if you please.
Thank you very much, our sister Karam. I'm supposed to be on this panel with my friend and brother, the Sultan of Sokoto, but for unavoidable and unforeseen reasons, he cannot be here. But we have a good representative in the person of another friend and brother, Alhaji Sani Kunle, to talk generally about the Nigerian situation, but specifically with regard to questions of terrorism, security, and the youth. We will see how we manage. Because the Sultan did not come, we were a bit disorganized. But at the end, there will be order. Yes. You start.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. What I've just said is to wish you the peace and blessings of Almighty God. Once again, I want to apologize on behalf of one of our leaders, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar, the Sultan of Sokoto, CFR, President General, Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, who at the last minute could not attend due to equally important domestic exigencies in Nigeria. He ever sent his warmest greetings to all of you lovers of peace gathered in this beautiful island of Lindau. He has gladly asked me to represent him at this plenary session. Since the modus operandi of our coming together is to enhance peace through religion and nip in the bud the cankerworm of terrorism, giving a definition of terrorism would be a veritable waste of time. We all know what terrorism is, and we all detest it. It is, however, imperative to mention that we are confronted by global terrorism as well as domestic terrorism like we have in Nigeria. As we have Muslim terrorists, we have Christian terrorists, we have Buddhist terrorists, and so on and so forth. Therefore, we should avoid all sorts of labeling, profiling, and stereotyping, or stigmatizing a particular religion as the arrowhead of world terrorism. In Islam, the Muslims will let you know that Allah that created us and gave us the religion of Islam. Islam itself comes from the word salam, which means peace. And in many places in the Quran, God told us to respect the religious feelings of others. Like in an ayah of the Quran, Allah says, Lakun dinukum waliya din, which means your religion, which is Islam, is for you, and for others, it's also their religion. In another place, in Quran 256, Allah says, La ikraha fi din. There should be no compulsion in religion. Therefore, no Muslim has any reason whatsoever to want to force or coerce anybody to become a Muslim. In another place in the Quran, Surah to Yunus, chapter 10, verse 99, Allah says, if it had been his wish, he would have made everybody to follow Islam. And I learned there is a similar statement in the Bible where Jesus, Anabi Isa alayhi salam, says, if it had been the will of my Father, everybody would have followed me. So, which means that all of us in the world, whatever religious belief we have to respect the religious belief of others. It is not our responsibility to force anybody to follow any other religion. As we have in the world today, we have terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Al-Shabaab, to mention but a few. And it was said that in 2017 alone, about 11,000 people were killed through terrorism. In Nigeria, we have the issue of Boko Haram. But unknown to so many people outside Nigeria, We also have sections of ISIS, we have sections of Al-Shabaab, and we have the Ansar. All these groups are terrorist groups that are creating a lot of problems for us in Nigeria. When Boko Haram started, it was a peaceful movement that only discouraged Western education, that was perceived as being embellished with corrupting tendencies. The modus operandi behind its establishment by its first advocate, Abubakar Lawan, was to criminalize and demonize Western education and its adherents. Not a few well-educated Muslims in the northeast of Nigeria stupidly went out of their way to burn their certificates, including those who were as educated up to PhD level, because they believe that Western education is satanic. It became radicalized when, under the hegemony of Muhammad Yusuf, who was endowed with oratorical prowess. With his power of oratory, it was not difficult to appeal to the sentiments of the youth, who are really very vulnerable. And a lot of them, because of the social problems we have, through bad governance, are unemployed. A lot of them very exorbitant, poor, and illiterate. We also have the problem of Al-Majiri. These are young boys sent to Islamic schools by their parents without any provision for their upkeep and had to beg for food to survive. These are easy tools in the hands of satanic-minded people. We also have the case of young men attracted with money during elections and trained to use arms against political opponents. After the election, a lot of them are still with the weapons which they employ to commit unwholesome monstrosities. It is rumored that some of these Boko Haram have foreign sponsorship. They have a lot of money to play with. And you can imagine a boy who has never seen 10,000 naira, that is our currency in Nigeria, being given something like 100,000 naira a month. It is really very, very attractive. The indoctrination that when they engage in suicide bombing, they will automatically go to paradise. That is why a small boy or girl of the age of 12 or 13 will wrap his body with bomb and go to a mosque or a church or a market and detonate it. And that is why you know that the issue is not really religious, because these Boko Haram boys don't only go to churches, they go to mosques, they even go to markets, and the bomb does not recognize the religion or the ethnicity of the people in the market. Of course, these boys have to commit harakiri in the name of going to heaven free of charge. Many of these young men suffering from youthful exuberance are ferried abroad for military training. That alone is an attraction, that they are leaving Nigeria and going outside Nigeria. The generalissimo of these terrorist groups also exploit the young age of these boys to paint a narrative of those at the corridors of power as their enemies, who appropriate the lion's share of government resources to themselves, their families, and their cronies. This creates a serious inveterate animosity against those in government, and even those who make their way through legitimate means. It is therefore easy to encourage these youths to join kidnap groups, which is the latest in Nigeria now. Now, like I told you, we have domestic terrorism. It has now got to a stage in which we have banditry and kidnapping. And when these people are kidnapped, before they are released, they have to pay a lot of ransom. Initially, the issue of terrorism was isolated to the northeast of Nigeria. Nigerians here will tell you that it is now a nationwide affair. People cannot move freely anywhere in Nigeria for fear of being kidnapped, especially if you are wealthy, if you are rich, or you are a top man in government. Religious leaders are radicalizing the youth. It is sad and shocking that some religious leaders, out of ethnic chauvinism, also instigate the youth to engage in violence through hate speech. The case of Rwanda and the genocide between the Tutsi and Hutus, in which religious leaders played a terrible and unwholesome role to the extent that some of them were sentenced to death, is still very fresh in our mind. Religious leaders should be harbingers of peace and not provoke ethnic insurrection. If they do, their punishment before God will be great. Gentlemen here, because we are in the West, I also want to appeal to the Western world to try and assist us, because most of the weapons that are being used to create anarchy and violence in the world are produced in the West. And some of these people who start this insurrection, they always start poor. But before you know it, they become millionaires in dollars. Where do they get it? How do they get it? Who is encouraging them? Thank you very much for listening to me. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Al-Haji Sani Kule. Yes, thank you. For this very comprehensive, also critical analysis and overview of the situation. We've heard some echoes of what has been shared earlier. Cardinal, the floor is yours. Please. Yes, please.
Is this here? I thank my brother Sani for quite a succinct explanation of the whole phenomenon of terrorism and insecurity in our land. And I think this is important because I move around a lot, and almost everywhere I go, the question is Boko Haram. And the impression being created that the whole nation is overrun, that it is practically as if they represent Nigerian Islam, but as you can hear, they are just a terrorist group. But they put the discussion now into even the broader perspective of context of the Nigerian state. I just want to mention the fact that, we are about 200 million Nigerians. And something very special about us, our country, is that we are almost 50% Christians and Muslims. That means we are a country in which you have almost about 80 million or more Christians living together with 80 million Muslims. Very different from the situation in the countries from which many of you come. Therefore, we pride ourselves with being the greatest Islamo-Christian nation in the world. And we also believe that the fact that 80 million of us Christians and 80 million Muslims have been living together in that little country and we have not imploded, you should congratulate us for it. And if we have not imploded, it's because we have learned to accept one another. Very often, even within the same family, we have Christians and Muslims. I have uncles and cousins and nephews who are Muslims. It's not every Nigerian that has that kind of a mixture, but we find it often. The Sultan who was supposed to come would be considered a northern Fulani Hausa Muslim. I am of the Yoruba tribe, a bit to the south. So the usual southern Christian. But the fact is that there are many Muslims in the south, and there are many Christians in the north. In actual fact, Alhaji Sani, sitting here now, is my own brother from point of view of ethnicity. We are both Yoruba. He is Muslim, and I am a Christian. This just to let you know that our situation is very, very special. And we have learned to live with each other. Now, this is why, for a long time, we had the Nigerian Interreligious Council, which brought together the leadership of Christianity and Muslims together. We worked very well together. It was in the context of the Nigerian Interreligious Council that the Sultan and I became very good personal friends, and we have continued our friendship. Somehow, unfortunately, around the year 2010 and so on, we had the insurgence of the Boko Haram terrorism, which created a lot of bad blood in the country. And in a way, the good relationship between Christians and Muslims suffered badly, and we are still trying to recover from that. And unfortunately, that also coincided with the crisis within the Nigerian Interreligious Council. When we needed it most, it was not available, it was not around. Then we had political problems in the country, elections that were not generally accepted, but sometimes problems of national cohesion. So all that was required to deal with our normal socio-religious problems was not available at that time. But I would like to say that as we come at the point at which we are now, we have seen the repercussions of letting things go, as it has been explained by my brother Sonny. We have seen the spread of insecurity all over the country, the arms that there's vast proliferation of firearms all over the nation, and we put the blame of that on government, who ought to be able to secure the land. And why is government not able to do its work? My own reasoning is that precisely because we have a weak government in place, which does not enjoy the kind of popularity that it should have, and that has its impact on the cohesion of the state. And in all this, the religious leaders are struggling to get above the issues that we are talking about, not always succeeding, because while there are religious leaders who are making every effort to bring the nation together, there are those who have other reasons to foment division for whatever reason. As at now, the Nigerian Religious Council has been revived. And I'm happy that the co-chair of the Nigerian Religious Council is here, His Eminence, Dr. Ayo Kunle. I saw him here, but he has disappeared. Okay, he's there. Please, can you stand up and let us see you? With him is the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Religious Council, who is the first Executive Secretary to be appointed only a few years, 2 years ago or last year, Reverend Father Cornelius. And here he is with us. Now, I want since we want time to also discuss further, with the revival of NIREC, there are also other efforts by Nigerians to bring the nation together. Let me mention especially at the time when the Nigerian Religious Council was in coma, the Sultan and I agreed to form something like an NGO called the Interfaith Initiative for Peace in Nigeria, IIP. And that group kept working even when the Nigerian Religious Council was sleeping. Now, the group has continued to work to do as much as we can to bring people together. Let me also mention other initiatives. There is a foundation that is based in Abuja, even called after my name, Cardinal Onayeko Foundation for Peace. And actually, the executive director happens to be also an important woman leader of faith in Nigeria. She is here with us, Sister Agatha, my sister here. Are you here? Okay, yes. She is heading. Now, the Cardinal Onayeko Foundation is well known for organizing yearly fellowship courses where they bring all forms of religious leadership together at the medium level, that level that is almost always the troublesome level. Not the level of the cardinal and imams and sultan, nor the level of the ordinary people on the ground, but the level of the imams and pastors at the middle. They are the ones that often have problems because they are the ones who are talking to the Muslims on Fridays in the mosque and to the Christians in the churches on Sunday. We have this program which brings them together. And not only the well-known ones, but even the less well-known ones, so that they meet and they learn to be men and women of peace. I have attended many of their events, and I have found it extremely useful because it's an effort to target that middle level of religious leadership, which is often not considered in big meetings like this. And so the struggle continues, and the vast majority of Nigerians still believe in the Nigerian project. We look left and we look right, and we keep seeing one another, Christians and Muslims, and we have sufficient experience to know that we can live together in peace. Alhaji Sani has reeled out all the Quranic texts for that you need if you really want to live together in peace with people of other faith. Fortunately, in Nigeria, we deal largely with only Christians and Muslims. If there are Hindus, there are very few. We hardly ever see them. There are a few Jews, very few. Our traditional religion is subsumed within the Christian and Muslim followership. What I mean by that is, even though I'm a cardinal of the Catholic Church, I am still a Yoruba man. And my Christian faith is still built upon my traditional faith in one God, which we call Olorun, and he too. So from the point of view of Yoruba, we are on the same foundation. It is very important for us because very often our traditional religion ends up being a bridge between Christians and Muslims. It doesn't appear too often as a recognized faith, but we do know that the values of traditional religions, much of it is consistent with Christian and Muslim values, which, by the way, explains why our people so easily become Christian and so easily become Muslims. Thank you very much. We shall wait for any questions that the moderator will agree to have.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Your Eminence. I think you'll all agree with me. We have heard 4 extremely rich presentations and analyses of the situation in 2 countries. We have noticed some of the commonalities between them in terms of the point that was also resonant with what we heard in the previous panel, that terrorism knows no religion and is not of any religion. We've heard about how the religious nuances can be a contributing factor to the peace building, as well as one of the detractors in some cases when it is used by protagonists who wish to be in opposition to one another. We've heard about how the economic context, poverty in particular, can influence deeply, but it is by no means the only factor. We've heard the rich presentation of how politics and governance can be a very critical player in that space as well. And specifically, I believe, we've heard about how the interreligious structures that are in existence in these 2 countries can play a very critical role, that when they are weak, they weaken the process of mediation and reconciliation. Where they are stronger, they boost the abilities and the opportunities for such mediation by the religious communities. I had given you a warning to say if you have any questions, please do think of them. Gentle reminder, there are microphones on each side. Conscious of the time, microphones on each side, please stand next to the microphones should you have a question. I do need to let you know that we are slightly short of time, so please keep your questions succinct. Please be so kind as to identify yourself before you ask the question, and let us know if you wish to direct it towards any specific speaker, and then please keep your questions succinct. So let me start from this side. It's not working? It's working.
It is. Thank you.
It's working.
Dr. Karam, thank you for a wonderful panel. 2 democracies we heard from. My concern has to do with the action of nation states. I think sometimes we as people of faith give a pass to the nations we belong to. So the comment I want to make, and the question is for all of you, is the action of nation states, and in many cases democracies, including the homeland I come from, India, and where I lived 30 years, America, both democracies, contribute towards promoting violent conflict and prejudice. And recently we've seen the cases in my own country, President Trump promoting Islamophobia very clearly and explicitly, and we have seen the annexation of Kashmir by India. So my question is, as people of faith, how do we prevent religious nationalism, which it seems is on the rise all across the world, especially in the world's 2 largest democracies, US and India, both of whom to which I belong, unfortunately?
Thank you very much for that question. Can I please suggest to our distinguished panelists that we take a few questions so that we give the folks who are standing an opportunity to say at least 3 questions, and then I will ask you to comment. So we have now one on religious nationalism. Can we take another question from this side, please?
My name is Zahir Abbas. I belong to the Khoja Shia Ithna Ashari community. I have a question for our leaders from Nigeria to give us enlighten us on the situation with Sheikh Zakzaki. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that very succinct question, which I'm sure will be dealt with adequately. Can I go back to this side, please?
My name is Muhammad Majid. My question, by the way, I visited the Rohingyas. I've been in Nigeria many times. The question I have is, what about post-conflict? What's going to happen rebuilding trust, whether in the Rohingya, whether in the place of conflict in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question on post-conflict. The last question for now, for this round, if you please. Please, Sheikhna.
Muhammad Abu Zaid from Lebanon, a country that witnessed a lot of conflicts, unfortunately, base-based conflicts. My question is to the gentleman from Nigeria, saying that some foolish people burned their certificates, even if it is a PhD. Some child, 12, 13, 14, being a suicide bombers. Then it is not a very simple thing. It is a very dangerous thing. What about the mindset of these people? What about the background of these people? Yes, we can finish a conflict with negotiations or whatever, but if we still have this kind of mindset, if we still have this kind of mentality, sooner or later, these foolish people will appear again. Then we should think about peace, but also about sustainable peace. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. With permission, please, to our questioning colleagues, I would like, given that we seem to have a few questions directed specifically at Nigeria and more general questions, would the distinguished panelists please allow me to ask the distinguished Nigerian speakers to begin the process of answering as succinctly as possible the questions posed.
Yes, I think Alhaji Sani will talk about those burning certificates.
Thank you very much. You see, I mentioned the issue of mindset and indoctrination. When young men at their very, very exceptional age are told that when they die, they are going to paradise. And when they are on earth, they are in hell because they don't have jobs. They have gone to school, they don't have jobs. Unfortunately, again, you find that a very brilliant boy went to the university because he's poor, with his brilliance, he could not get a job. But he has a classmate who is from a very wealthy home, or his father is a minister or a senator, and before he even finished school, a job is already waiting for him. So if somebody tells him that if he dies, he will go to paradise and enjoy. So life does not mean anything to him. So like my brother has said, this is the job which religious leaders have to do, because these people are very, very few and infinitesimal in terms of numerical strength. Those of us, you said I used the word stupid. Those of us, I think, who are thinking rightly, in terms of number, we are more than them. So we have to elasticize the scope of letting them know that those who are deceiving them that they are going to paradise if they kill themselves are deceiving them. Because if you kill yourself, as an Islamic scholar, you know that Allah is not going to take it kindly with you. You cannot go to paradise if you kill yourself. If you are killed, it's something else. But if you on your own kill yourself, then you cannot go to paradise. So we have a lot of work to do. And like my father has said, through NIREC, through Onayekan Foundation, and also the Sultan Foundation, his friend's foundation, which I'm sure he inadvertently forgot to mention, are doing a lot of job, and I'm sure we'll reach there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for highlighting the employment.
There's a question about Zakzaki.
Yes.
He has become a subject of front page news in Nigeria. All over. For those of you who don't know, Zakzaki is the leader of the Shiite movement in Nigeria. I would probably have been happy if the Sultan were here to give his own view on it. But what we are hearing is that they are being accused of being a terrorist organization. In fact, our government went as far as to claim to proscribe the organization under which they operate, called the Islamic Movement in Nigeria. Luckily, the government came out almost immediately with another statement to the effect that they are not proscribing the Shiite religion, but rather the criminal organization under that name. When we first heard news of the proscription of the organization, I was one of those who came out very openly and raised a voice of dissent that government has no business proscribing any religious organization. And I made it clear that if I keep quiet now, if the government descends on the Catholic Church tomorrow, I will not be able to talk. That even though I'm not a Muslim and I'm not a Shiite, I protect the right of everybody to exist. The struggle continues. The original problem was Zakzaki was kept in detention under the accusation of terrorist activities. He was ill. The court asked that he be released for treatment abroad, and the government did not obey the courts. And again, we may put pressure on government that we must obey the courts. Eventually, Zakzaki was released to go for treatment in the big democracy called India. And the drama continues because after 2 days, he complained that the condition in the Indian hospital was worse than his detention camp in Nigeria. And he has returned with his wife to Nigeria, so we do not know what is the next item on that agenda. But as about Zakzaki, I know that the Iranian, and this is public knowledge, the Iranian government did send a message to our government on behalf of Zakzaki, and my government took exception, accusing Iran of interference in our internal affairs. Some of us didn't agree with our government on that. You can interfere if we are doing the wrong thing. This other question about states that are themselves not respecting religious freedom. and for whom it is a policy. We have a big problem here, my brothers and my sisters. Yes, we have a big problem here. My position has always been, wherever religion and politics marry, the politics always ends up the husband. And we in Africa, we know what it means when you are a husband. You know, it is never a wise thing for religious people to allow themselves to be co-opted into positions of prominence, what you call, where things easy for you, even in the name of promoting your faith. Even in the name of promoting your faith. And the government says we want to support Catholic Church. And because of that, as a cardinal, I now have to bless everything that they do. And we have seen it happen. I think the history of the world has shown it over and over again. At the end of the day, it is the values of the religion that suffers. And we are saying it. Permit me to say, for us, and for me, when my country, Nigeria, we insist, not because we are 50-50, but the whole idea of a nation describing itself in the name of a religion raises fundamental questions. If you don't belong to the religion that is the official religion of the state, who are you? And the issues of citizenship has come to the fore, which is why we greatly welcome the initiative of Sheikh Ben Baya that focuses on the position of non-Muslims in Muslim majority nations and the concept of equal citizenship. Not a matter of respecting minority. Minority is not a title that I love to carry. I don't want to be minority or majority. I don't want to be tolerated or protected. I just want to be a citizen, equal level with others. So, you who are religious leaders, if your government has adopted your religion as your official religion, watch out, please.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. I need to beg your patience here because we have technically 5 minutes till the conclusion, and we still have a participant on our panel, a very capable woman whose organization won the Nobel Peace Prize, who has yet to be invited to come and speak. So may I please beg your indulgence, please blame it on my inability to keep time properly, to please request that we stop the questions, we offer the opportunity for our two distinguished speakers who have spoken to give very brief answers to the existing questions that have been posed, and please feel free to carry on the conversation one-on-one later, but please bear with me, we still need to have one woman speaker come and say her piece as an action point, which is very, very critical. So please allow me this mea culpa. Can we please have two very quick responses?
Yes, I will try to do it.
Yes.
May I just... There has been a reference to the Kashmir issue.
Yes.
I wish to clarify, as a citizen, I am not a spokesperson of the government of India. Constitutionally, Kashmir is part of India. Therefore, there is no question of annexation.
We are thank you very much for that clarification. We are discussing two distinct countries and their situation and dynamic. Can we honor the dynamics of those two countries, please, for this panel? And that does not dissuade us from the opportunity to carry on a conversation after this. Thank you for your intervention. Please have the floor, sir.
I will touch on 2 points. One, post-conflict. Well, it has been often said that we can forgive but not forget. Wounds can be healed, but stigmas, the scars, can still remain. What we need to do is find out the cause of the conflict and try to eliminate the cause. If we can eliminate the cause, I think the scars and the stigmas can be erased. Point number 2 about nationalism. It is happening in our country. A Buddhist-dominated country where Buddhist nationalism has been whipped whipped up by those dictators who wish to cling on to power. What they are trying to do is to rally support from people by portraying a group of scapegoats, saying that they are danger to Buddhist nationalism. They have been doing that since 1962, trying to brainwash the people and trying to find a scapegoat for that. So nationalism, in its true sense, is nothing wrong with that. Because according to Buddhism, no, there is a Buddhist, what shall I say, a missionary known as King Asoka. He has erected a pillar saying that if you want to promote your religion, try and find ways and means to promote other people's religion. If not, you will be digging your own grave. So that is the advice from King Asoka, who is a practicing Buddhist. So what is happening in my country is trying to whip up the Buddhist nationalism and trying to portray Islam as a danger to the Burmese Buddhist nationalism. That is going on. So we need to find out the true nationalism. Our founder of our nation, General Aung San, he was a nationalist, but he tried to uplift his nation by welcoming the others. Not only that, he regarded others as brothers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cardinal Bo, final comments.
Like all of you, I'm also hungry, so I'll be very short with him. Regarding just to add a note of the brother asked from India, I think there is a need in our context, as I understand it, the connection with the religious leaders, with the politicians and religious leaders, with the government. And that's in our own little circle. The Religions for Peace is trying that, and we have easily have contact with the government as well as with the military. Just to say, our church in Myanmar, the Catholic Church, is just 1% of the population of 54 million, and especially after the Pope's visit, we could easily approach the different religious leaders as well as to the government and to the military also. I just made a statement, long statement, like reflections from the periphery, where I started with the gospel passage and also mentioned some of the political areas that in our fragile democracy period, we do need the assistance of the protection of the military. But at the same time, military is to defend and not to rule the country. So gradually, if it is a mature democratic country, and then the military has to be under the president of the country. So with that, I think what I want to say is that the religious leaders, especially in Myanmar, we have practically 100% of the people cling to one religion or the other. Buddhism, 89% being the majority, but they have culturally deep respect for the religious leaders. So when the religious leaders are united, interreligious dialogue is strong, when we love one another, when we are brothers and sisters, I think that will have a big, deep impact on the military as well as to the government.
Brilliant.
That's the note that I want to add. Thank you.
Brilliant. And on that note, thank you very much to our existing panelists. Last but by no means least, may I please invite to speak to the action point for this panel, Ms. Beatrice Finn, who's representing the ICANN, which is an organization that has just been awarded the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, which has actually been awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. Beatrice, please join us to speak to the action point, and welcome.
Thank you so much. I really just want to start by thanking Dr. Bentley and all of Religions for Peace for your long-standing support, your spirit, and faithful leadership on this issue. Religions for Peace has been a vital and consistent voice, and you've been challenging world leaders to place the people impacted by their decisions at the center of their deliberation, and through your commitment to a moral and humanitarian stance against nuclear weapons, which has been rooted in your abiding faith. So I'm therefore extremely honored and pleased to be here today to present the Assembly's action point on the elimination of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons threaten the very survival of humanity and our entire living planet. And according to the United Nations, the risk of their use is today at the highest since the end of World War II. And any use, whether intentional, accidental, or by miscalculation, would cause catastrophic and widespread and persistent humanitarian and environmental consequences that will transcend national boundaries and span generations. These immoral, unethical, and illegitimate weapons go against the basic tenets of all the world's major religions, and communities of faith have historically played a large and important role in the push for their abolition. But on July 7th, 2017, 122 nations adopted the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, the first multilateral legally binding instrument to comprehensively and categorically prohibit nuclear weapons. And to date, 70 countries have signed it, and 25 have ratified it, with more to come at the upcoming United Nations General Assembly. It will enter into force and become officially international law when 50 governments have ratified it. And in addition to achieving the legal prohibition, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons is also changing the norm and creating a stigma against nuclear weapons. And for this achievement, ICANN, and thereby also Religions for Peace, as a member of ICANN, was awarded the 2017 Nobel Peace Prize. So congratulations. Because Religions for Peace has, from its origin to its present, has had a constant and resolute commitment to the total elimination of nuclear weapons. And Religions for Peace is an intrinsic partner and works side by side with the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons in this endeavor. And the support for the treaty by faith communities all around the world has been instrumental in achieving it. And it will be key for the ratification and adoption of it as a new global norm. So therefore urge this Assembly, or they therefore present to this Assembly the call for action that Religions for Peace is deeply concerned by the resumption of the nuclear arms race and the breaking down of arms control agreements. That it's challenged by the need to secure the support of every nation to ensure the total eradication of these weapons before they eliminate us. And appreciating the history and ongoing commitment by Religions for Peace to the total elimination of nuclear weapons. And we therefore place before the Assembly the following motion: that the Religions for Peace World Assembly commits as a full partner to support the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, and that Religions for Peace commitment includes, 1, stigmatizing nuclear weapons by condemning their existence, possession, and threat of use from ethical, moral, and religious perspectives. And 2, to further educating, mobilizing, and engaging religious leaders and communities on the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons, the risk of their use, and the urgent need for their elimination. And 3, affirming its support for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons for the total elimination of nuclear weapons, and calling on all governments to sign and ratify at the earliest.
Thank you very much indeed. We have heard the motion, and we ask the Assembly to affirm by acclamation, which apparently means you clap. We welcome the motion. It is hereby adopted. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for a rich panel discussion and presentation. Thank you for the wisdom that has been shared. Thank you for the brilliant questions that have been raised. Apologies for not being able to allow the floor to ask more questions. A few thoughts that we leave you with for today: that religions are natural peacemakers and peace builders, that violence has no faith, has no religion,
and that critically, working together with other religions and across religions is a path to peace. Thank you very much indeed.